Husker fans, Sam McKewon with the Omaha World-Herald and HuskerExtra.com. These are the three keys to Nebraska's game against Northwestern. Hey, we're here in Ireland. It's really, really beautiful here. This stadium in particular, Aviva Stadium here in Dublin, going to be one of the nicest playing facilities that Nebraska's ever played in. The seats are a little, they're a little old school. They're plastic and they got seat backs, but they're not quite as nice as some of the ones you see in America. But the playing field is gorgeous. And so Nebraska will be playing on a fast track, and that leads us to our first key to this particular game. I think Nebraska's got the speed edge here, and this is a fast track. If you look at the grass here, it's tight. It's probably not quite as tight as Rose Bowl, but it's pretty tight, and usually that means that the faster team's gonna have a slight advantage, and I think Nebraska's going to be the faster team. I think they're a little bit faster at receiver. I think they're pretty fast in the defensive secondary, and I think there's going to be some advantages at times in special teams if Nebraska doesn't fall on its face the way it has for the last several years. Here's why that speed part matters. I think Nebraska can take a shot early in this game. Over the top, maybe Trey Palmer, maybe Marcus Washington, maybe Omar Manning, although he's not the fastest guy. Alante Brown's pretty darn fast. I just got a sense that Nebraska's going to try to see if they can get one of their fast receivers or skill players, which would include Ramir Johnson, behind that Northwestern defense. Northwestern has a really good bend but don't break strategy. I know Nebraska broke the hell out of it last year, but you can't always expect Northwestern's defense to stink like it did last year. So they're going to have to try to take some chances, get some big plays, maybe get one over the top, get an easy touchdown on a long throw. I wouldn't be surprised if Nebraska tries to take a chance early and see if it can flex its speed advantage. Key number 2, special teams. Man, look, they were the worst special teams group in the country last year. I think they ranked second to last, but they ranked last, folks. They were really, really rough. And this is one of those teams against Northwestern. Northwestern doesn't have great special teams. Often they just don't have as much talent. A lot of times they don't necessarily get a great kicker or punter up there in Chicago. And so this is a game where Nebraska can probably play to at least even or maybe even have an advantage in special teams, again, if they don't fall on their face. The thing I would watch is that return group. I know that Nebraska's kicking and punting has really struggled in recent years, but I do think they have a better kicker in Timmy Bleekrode, and I do think they have a little bit better punter in Brian Buschini. The question I'm going to be watching is those return teams. They have not been very good since J.D. Spielman left the program, and I suspect that Nebraska feels like they can break one in this game. And the wind is such here, there's almost none, that you're not going to have one of these weird days where the wind's pushing the ball all over the place. So when you kick off, you're going to see that ball and you're going to be able to track it. And let's see if one of the kick returners or punt returners, who I suspect will be Anthony Grant and Trey Palmer, are able to do something with it. I think Nebraska can actually have a slight advantage here in the special teams, again, if they just execute what they're supposed to execute. My final key is, hey, run the ball downhill. Run the ball downhill. You notice that I didn't mention the defense in any of this. I think Nebraska's defense will play just fine. Northwestern's offense has limitations. They don't have a lot of great skill players. The offensive line, with the exception of one guy, is not one of the best in the Big Ten. And so I think Northwestern can put up 14, 17, 21 points, but I don't think it's going to be the kind of day where Nebraska's defense is overly taxed, especially considering the weather. Nobody's getting worn down in this environment. They're gonna feel pretty fresh, I'd say, all game long. So I go back to that third key, which is run the ball downhill. Set an edge, set a tempo, set a tone early. Get the ball to the backs, get them downhill, and accent that with a quarterback run right about the time that the defensive line is crashing down on that dive. I think Nebraska's got to try to, run inside zone, run power, run in between the tackles, run in between what you might call the hash marks. If they can get vertical on Northwestern and reach those safeties, who I don't think are going to be that experienced, I think Nebraska can get off to a quick start here, maybe be up 7-10-0 in the first quarter, but they've got to be able to do that. They've got to find the right back who's able to do it, is willing to get downhill, and isn't going to dance a lot in the backfield, whether that's Gabe Ervin or that's Anthony Grant. And we'll see. We'll just see what Nebraska is able to do. I know that they have an identity that they desire on offense. We'll see if that's an identity that they can achieve. Last year when they played Illinois in the season opener, they weren't able to do that. And they basically had to resort to the same old stuff they had been doing, and they spent pretty much the entire season kind of functioning in that way, asking the quarterback to win football games for them. Casey Thompson, in my opinion, is a more efficient player than Adrian Martinez, but he's not a more talented player. And so asking him to run for 134 yards on Saturday is not in the cards. If Nebraska's going to win that way, they may have to play another guy like Chuba Purdy or Logan Smothers, but I think what they want to do is hand the ball off to the backs, run downhill, and run play action after that. we'll see what happens. I do expect a Nebraska win, but I don't necessarily think it's going to be a blowout. Nebraska's a 13-point favorite, and at this moment, I would almost say maybe take Northwestern. I do think Nebraska wins it maybe by 10, 27-17, somewhere in there, but we will see what happens. Okay, we will have full coverage here from Aviva Stadium on Saturday. For the Omaha World-Herald and Husker Extra, I'm Sam McKewon. Thank you.